Hey, I'm Tash and welcome to Taste Like Home. Today we're going to learn how to cook an omelette. I love an omelette because it's such a great snack or breakfast on the go, full of protein, and you can make it with virtually anything in your fridge. So without further ado, let's get cooking. So the ingredients today that we're going to use for our omelette are 3 eggs, we have 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, a tablespoon and a half of milk. You can use any milk. I have some grated cheese here. Some mushrooms are already sliced and diced, but if you're interested, we do have another video on slicing and dicing. We have some baby spinach and some salt and pepper to taste. Okay, so now we're going to get started. I'm going to start by heating our fry pan onto a medium heat, and we want to add our butter into it. There we go. And now, while that butter is in there melting, we're going to get our eggs ready. So in our bowl over here, I've got 3 eggs. You want to gently crack the egg by trying to tap it on the edge, not too hard, but not too gently either. You get some egg shell in there, don't worry, we all do. So 1, 2, don't worry about anything of the yolk cracking, and 3. I've got a little bit of shell in there. Little handy tip, if you get half of your shell, you can go in there and you can scoop it out. I think I got it. Alright. My dad would always make a joke, extra protein. Okay, so while we're waiting for our butter over here to melt, we're just going to get our eggs and we're going to whisk them. I'm just using a fork. If you have a whisk at home, you can also use a whisk. Either one does the job. So while that's getting ready, that's all whisked together, we're seeing that our butter is starting to melt. I'm seeing it slowly start to move around our pan. So we want to make sure that that starts to spread out. And we want our pan to be well oiled or well buttered before we put our mushrooms on there. Okay, so now our butter is perfectly melted. You can tell because you can see that it's starting to bubble up. That's why I've got it at medium heat. We just want to make sure that it also doesn't burn, so that's one thing to be careful of. So then we get our garlic. We want to make sure we put our garlic in first with the butter and spread that around. By putting the garlic in first, you're spreading the flavour around and you let that garlic kind of activate. That's starting to sizzle a little bit. From there, we want to get our mushrooms. We want to put up all of our mushrooms in. Spread them all around. Make sure you get every little bit. When you put the mushrooms in, you don't want to play with them too much and move them around. You just want to make sure they all start to slowly cook there. And they will take a few minutes. We'll wait for them to start cooking before we add our spinach in. So then we'll move back to our eggs over here. And once we've got our eggs whisked over here, we can add our milk and pour that in. And I'm just going to do a little bit of salt and pepper. You can do the salt and pepper to taste. Some people like lots of salt, some people don't like a lot of salt and pepper. So it's up to you. Always try not to add too much. It's always a fatal mistake adding too much salt. So making sure we whisk that together and getting that all into a nice consistency like that. And then we're just going to leave our eggs mixture to the side while our mushrooms cook. So we want our mushrooms to start sizzling a bit. We can see the garlic is coating it. You can start to see the mushrooms starting to cook by the bits of garlic starting to get a bit golden and crispy. That's what we want to see. We just want to make sure that this cooks a little bit first. Before we add our spinach, as you'll be able to learn, the spinach cooks very quickly. So probably around there, when the mushrooms start to get a bit golden, that's when we want to add the spinach in. Don't worry, I know it looks like a lot, but you'll be surprised how much it cooks down. Okay, so as you can tell, you can see how much that spinach is cooked off and how small it does get. So when we get to this stage, about that's when we want to take off the mushrooms and spinach and put it onto a plate. And then that is going to be our filling for our omelette. Then you want to leave your pan on, keep it on medium heat. It's probably a good heat for it. And we're going to get our other half of the butter. We're going to make sure that goes on there and that fully melts. Want to make sure that's properly spread around our pan for a well-oiled pan. If you have a non-stick pan at home, it is best to use that. Otherwise, if you don't have butter, you can also use oil. You just want to make sure that it's properly spread around so that the omelette doesn't stick, and it may break up the omelette later. Alright, so once we've got our butter melted, which it is at the moment, we're going to get our egg mixture over here, and we're going to pour it straight on, just like that. Perfect. Alright, so when it's at this stage, I'll lightly lift it. We want to just make sure that you leave it for about 20 to 30 seconds. You want it to start to cook. And then when it starts to get a little bit more cooked around the edges, which you'll be able to tell, that's when we're going to lift it. Alright, so you might, with the egg, you can see that it starts to get cooked around the bottom. You can move the edges slightly if you wanted to cook it, but don't really worry too much. You want to make sure that you don't scramble your eggs. So you'll be able to tell when that bottom layer is starting to get all cooked around the side. You want to make sure it may be a little bit buttery, don't worry, it will cook through. So when it's about that stage and the whole bottom of your base is nicely cooked, you don't want it to overcook, that's when you want to add your mushroom and spinach filling in. So I'll move my cheese over there. So you want to make sure we only put it on half of the pan. I'll move this here. So it doesn't have to be symmetrical, but you want to make sure it's only on half, as later on we're going to make sure that we flip the other half over, and that's how it cooks throughout. So you can spread your mushroom and spinach throughout. Then you want to sprinkle your cheese on top. Don't worry, we all make a mess. And then try and have it nice and evenly spread. Beautiful. So then when we're at this stage, we're just going to let it cook for a little bit before we flip it. Okay, so at this stage, I'll try my best to make sure we don't get everything falling out. This is similar to what your omelette should be looking like. So we've got half our filling on here. If you have a lid at home, it does make it a little bit quicker to put a lid on. If you're like me and you don't have a lid, then that's completely okay. You want to make sure we probably turn it down to the low on heat, so we don't want it to overcook on the underside. So at this stage here, we can see that the egg's pretty well cooked on the edges through there. It's still got a little bit of cooking on that side in the middle, but that's okay because we're going to flip it in a moment too. So what we're going to do with this side of the egg is we're going to get our spatula and we're going to do as best as we can without trying to break the edge. We're going to flip it over. Now if yours is anything like mine and it doesn't quite fit, then that's okay. So we're flipping it over and we're just going to make sure we move it to more of the edge of the pan so it all cooks through. And then what will happen is that residual heat from this side is going to go through and it will also cook the cheese, melt the cheese and cook it a little bit more on that side. So we're just going to leave it for a moment or two on that side and then we're going to flip it from this side to the other side. Okay, so now we're at the stage where we can see that the egg is cooked on the edges. So what we want to do is, with our rubber spatula, we want to try our best to get under the egg without breaking it. And what we want to do is we just want to try and flip it over on top so it's covering the other side, and that's what it will look like. And then we're going to do our best to slide it on the plate without breaking it. If anything like me might be a bit better than me. Perfect. And then that's what we have as our finished product, our omelette. I know Grace is here at Cafe Social today. So, Grace, do you want to try and get the omelette?
Of course, I've already got my fork ready. That looks delicious.
Thank you. From our great experience cooking omelettes together at the cafe, I hope you enjoy it.
I know it will be very tasty.